This is Maurice Jones-Drew, and you're listening to the What's Bruin Show.
You're listening to the What's Bruin Show, part of the What's Bruin Show network, with your hosts, Jake Berryfield and Mike Regalado, and occasionally some friends, talking all things UCLA sports. And now, it's time for the What's Bruin Show.
Well, hello, and welcome to What's Bruin. I am your host, Jake Merrifield, and I'm joined by my good buddy, Mike Regalado.
What's up, Jake?
It's Mike. Nice to see you, buddy.
What's up?
Big applause, Big Mike.
He's from Bruin Report Online. He's been covering a lot of basketball.
Yeah.
Men's and women's. He booked us an awesome guest today.
Yeah.
We're going to get to him post-haste.
Yeah.
But first, it's What's Bruin Show on the What's Bruin Show network. At What's Bruin Show on the Instagram and the Twitter and all that stuff. If we ever post on that crap again, I don't know. What's Bruin Show at gmail.com is the email. Please send us emails with any of your feedback. You can catch the show on by supporting the little pirate ship we have here. We are the punk rock show of record because we're out here just doing our thing. The What's Bruin Show
is more punk than you.
And if you want to support our punk rock show, you can go to patreon.com/whatsbruinshow or to whatsbruinshow.com. That's the same thing. Or to the Substack, whatsbruin.substack.com. And just for, how much, Mike?
$2.
Somewhere around $2, you can send the What's Bruin Show into the future, and we thank you for
Inflation.
your support. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, whatever. It is what it is, and we want to thank you very much. You can also get the show on YouTube to a very outdated slideshow that at some point I may fix, but as of right now, I'm not. But it's just go to YouTube and then search What's Bruin Show and pay no attention to any of the Boston-related nonsense. F Boston for real. And you can also call the hotline 805-399.
For WBS. Suck it, Raina Troll.
Suck it, Raina Troy, but they have the cutest new puppy. Like their dog they already had was really cute, but now they have like the just an absolute adorable little puppy.
Nice.
We went and had dinner with them the other day. It was nice. But Suck it, Raina Troy, you guys suck. And really, that's it. Call the hotline. We got a bunch of hotline calls last week. I didn't check. I mean, I'm checking a minute. I don't think we got any for this week, but that's okay because we have plenty of show for you today because Mike has a superstar, outstanding, super interview that he just did. Big applause. Big Mike.
Big applause, Big Mike.
He's a man you know, but you don't know. He only has 71 followers on Twitter. We have to change that.
Yeah, a great interview too, by the way. And we're going to get right to that interview now. It's your voice of your UCLA women's basketball team. And it's none other than Dave Marcus. So, Mike, let's get to it.
And joining us here on the What's Bruin hotline, you may know him or you may not know him. He is the voice of UCLA women's basketball, and I wanted to bring him on here if you didn't know him, well, now you do. Mr. Dave Marcus, thank you for joining us on the What's Bruin Show.
Thank you so much for having me, and thank you so much for your great coverage of our sport.
Really quickly, Dave, we got to get you more followers on the social media. Only 71. So follow him. For those listening, get on the Twitters right now. His handle is at Dave PBP. That's Paul Bruin Paul. We got to get you more because you have been the consistent voice. You have been the one that has connected UCLA women's basketball when there's no TV. Even in a season where UCLA is a top 5 team, there were a few games where we couldn't even watch it on TV. Yet we would pass around the link from the UCLA site, and we got the experience straight from you. I've been listening to you for years, and I am very excited to have you on the show. Jake and I were like, yes, we got to get him in, especially since this week is a little bit of a break. So again, thank you for joining us.
I'm really happy to hear that, Mike. There were years when I thought nobody was listening, and all I had to do was say something really stupid, and then I would hear it from everybody. So I'm happy to have you listening, and I'm really happy for anybody that was able to find us.
Yeah, we feel that way too sometimes, but we just, keep on trucking. And you, of all people, we've kind of tagged ourselves as we're the most punk rock UCLA podcast because we have been covering all these other sports that other podcasters haven't. I'm not trying to shun my UCLA media brethren, but we've been covering UCLA women's basketball for quite a long time. For 13 years, I believe. That's how long we've done it. But
So Bruins.
if we're the punk rockers of UCLA sports, then you, sir, are the Lou Reed of the Velvet Underground, the godfather of UCLA women's basketball media. So
let's walk on the wild side.
Yes, you got that reference. So, Dave, 22 years. This is your 22nd year as the voice of the UCLA women's basketball team. First off, bravo. That is longevity. And I wanted to ask you, how did you get it? How did you land that gig?
Well, it's just been a wonderful, wonderful opportunity. I started broadcasting literally in high school. We had a high school station. I went to Birmingham out in the Valley. We had a high school station, and then I started calling play-by-play in my college. I worked in the student radio station. I went to Cal, and I called the Golden Bears games up there.
Go Bears!
And after that, a lot of
Go
different
Bears.
Opportunities. Did a lot of local cable TV. I did high school football and basketball on Valley Cable TV, LA 36. Did the Santa Barbara High School County football game of the week. I had a real good chance to be a sideline reporter and do some play-by-play for a company that was doing national radio. And we were going all over the place. We did games at Alabama, Florida State. It was really spectacular. And I got an opportunity. I had actually gone to UCLA women's games as a paying customer. The first time I went was just curiosity. I'd never been to a women's basketball game, and I went and paid and really enjoyed it. I got a chance to call Pepperdine games, and I did a couple years at Pepperdine. 2 years that I did, they went to the NCAA tournament twice. It was really wonderful. And then an opportunity arose at UCLA. Tony Luffman, who had been doing the games, left. He's on the NHL network still, but he left to go work for the Atlanta Hawks. And my Pepperdine work had been heard, and UCLA contacted me, and I've been there ever since. It's been absolutely wonderful.
And I was looking at the list of coaches, 22 years. That goes back to Kathy Olivier. Then we had Nikki Fargas. A few years after that, Corey Close. So you have covered a wide array of UCLA women's basketball, both that have had ups and downs, but it has been really good so far. But before that, what was your experience learning through Coach Olivier, then Fargas, then Corey Close? What was it like following this team and basically you're basically the only person who really knows UCLA women's basketball? How has that experience been?
I know I'm part of the institutional memory, I guess. It's been wonderful. The first team I worked for was really good. They had what they called the triple threat, which was Noelle Quinn, who's now the coach of the Seattle Storm. Mm-hmm. She was a freshman that year. Nikki Blue, Lisa Willis. They were three incredible guards. And that team, they didn't have a commanding post presence. But my first year, they went to the NCAA tournament. They ended up, and this was back in the days when the sites were predetermined, so it wasn't the teams with the best records that got to host. The Bruins went across the country, played Minnesota. They had Lindsay Whalen, they had Janelle McCarville, like WNBA players. Mm-hmm. One of the great individual battles I've ever called. Nikki Blue had 33 for UCLA. Lindsay Whalen had 31 for Minnesota, and it came down to a charged block call at the end that went against UCLA, and then Minnesota went on to the Final Four. So that's how good the team was when I started, and I had a chance. It was wonderful. I worked. One of my color analysts for that game was a young kid you might have heard of named Tracy Murray, because he started out working with us. Yeah, he started out working with us on the women's games. But that team was really, really good. And, the Bruins have always had a really solid program. but only one Elite Eight in all those years and no Final Fours. And I know that's something they're trying to erase this year. But Kathy Olivier had her own style, and Nikki Caldwell, then Nikki Fargas, had her own style, and Corey Close came in 14 years ago, and she's really done things the right way. It wasn't pretty at first. They had a year where they were going to finish with a 13-18 record, but they got to the WNIT and they won all 6 games.
Yeah.
That was when Jordan Canada was a freshman.
Yeah.
They played West Virginia. We had the Odyssey in the WNIT was incredible. The places you have to go, and we bust all the way from Michigan down to West Virginia and play like a couple days later. But that was 10,000 of the most hostile fans I've ever been in front of. And Jordan Canada scored 31 of UCLA's 62 points in that game. One of the great individual performances. So that was great. That was the time I got to. Yeah, she was great. Got to see them cut down the nets, which was wonderful. Got to see them cut down the nets in 2006 when they beat Stanford in the Pac-10 tournament championship. When they were down 9 with about a minute to play. And I think Noelle Quinn scored 9 in a row to send it to overtime. And that was the second time that they cut down the nets. And then the third time was a couple of days ago. And it was really an incredible sight to see them climbing the ladder.
Yeah, that was quite something. And not to get too ahead of ourselves, but one of the things Jake and I have been talking about for the last few years is that, yes, their success. And it was such, the Pac-12 the last decade was so brutal. It was such a gauntlet. UCLA was there, but they were never quite there. But to have some success, especially with the great recruiting classes, all the wins, there needs to be some hardware. And they finally got some hardware, and it was kind of like a sigh of relief for a lot of Bruin fans to see Lauren and Kiki and Gabriella and Coach, cut down the nets. And, just for someone who's been covering them, what was your experience like?
Well, first of all, when you think about the confetti, they lost 4 Pac-10 or Pac-12 championships, and I had to watch Oregon State doing the confetti angels and Washington State a couple of years ago.
Right.
And I just kept thinking, just one time, let it be blue and gold. And the moment when the confetti started coming down from the ceiling was a surreal moment. They were so happy. And, they have worked so hard. This team is as talented and deep as UCLA has ever had. And to see them have the success, psychologically, that was a big hurdle to overcome. And the way they did it, coming from 13 down in the third quarter and making SC shoot 34% for the game, I mean, that's just unbelievable. That Trojans averaged near 50 in the regular season. So it was just a tremendous lockdown effort, and I was just glad to see the smiles.
Yeah, that's the big thing too. Just being able to, as you say, see the smile, see the exuberance, the celebration, and I'm sure Coach loved it, but I'm sure she's also thinking we still have work to do. But in that moment, just to see just huge smiles and hugs and loves all across the board, that was a great moment for UCLA women's basketball. Really quickly, just going back a little bit, I did jump the gun a little bit. What are your thoughts on how recruiting has been going and how that has translated into making this team an elite team? Because as I just said, they were almost there in the Pac-12, but you had the Oregons and the Stanfords that were just always winning and always in the way. And now we're seeing UCLA becoming an elite team.
It's been a building process, and I think the coaching staff has really done it the right way. They recruit very talented players, but they are great people. And they are very serious about their mission, not only to develop the players as basketball players, but also develop them as people that are going to contribute to their community and make an impact. The Bruins, when they go on the road, they always do some kind of community service. They did it in Paris before the season started. They went and conducted a clinic for disadvantaged kids in the suburbs of Paris, and they taught them how to, do a pivot and they taught them a few things, and the smiles on the kids' faces. When the Bruins went to Hawaii this year, they went to a transitional housing village just to play with the kids, not to play basketball. In fact, a lot of the kids didn't know they were basketball players, but they've always tried to have the kind of people that are well-rounded in a lot of aspects, and they're very, very good basketball players. I have kind of a great inside look at the inner workings, and I can tell you, the coaching staff, the video analytics people, they work so hard. They try to cover every angle, and they try to lay out a game plan that's going to work. Sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes the players don't follow it. I mean, Corey Close was about as upset at her teams not following her direction as I've ever seen her after the second USC loss.
Oh yeah.
But they used it as an opportunity to reset and regather, and they approach things very analytically, and they're really getting good at turning the page. And they showed great grit and perseverance. But the recruiting has always been good. But as I said, they've never had this balanced a team, and having a huge post presence like Lauren Betts makes all the difference.
Mm-hmm. Like even during the years when Onyenwere was with the team, it just still kind of, there was some piece missing. The last few years, there was just kind of one piece missing. Then we find out that Lauren Betts is transferring from Stanford to UCLA, and she was a huge target for UCLA before that. And it just seemed like it was all coming together.
Yeah, I talked to Lauren about that. When she was really in the final recruitment process, it was during the COVID year. And so she was recruited on Zoom, and she really didn't ever go to Stanford, didn't take a visit. And she just kind of felt it wasn't a great fit for her. Mm-hmm. She came to LA. She loves the beach. It was really, the stars all aligned. And, she has just been first of all, people don't realize she's really funny. Lauren Betts is one of the nicest people you will ever meet, and she's very funny, and she's, her teammates love her. And I think this whole group really loves each other. UCLA has always had pretty cohesive teams, going back years. But this group, I think, really gets along as a group better than I've seen ever. They just are all pretty much on the same page, and they're all process oriented and goal oriented, and they're pretty solid.
Yeah. And they just seem like good, decent people. And it seems like all the coaches, not just Corey Close, but all the coaches pride themselves on developing not only their basketball skills, but their human skills. And just like, this is just something, picking at the rivalry, but at the end of that second win, when a certain superstar from across town was doing the fours down to the student section, I'm like, I really haven't seen any Bruin do anything like that. Yeah, sure, maybe Janiah Barker looks at the opposing bench, but nothing direct like that. And yes, I am being a little catty right now, but it just shows the kind of people that coach is bringing into the program.
They are really high character. And I want to mention something else, Mike, that's been consistent over the years. The Bruins, you talk about player development. Let's talk about the athletic side of it. Mm-hmm. There are some players that made huge jumps at UCLA that are now in the WNBA. Mm-hmm. The Jordan Candidates, the Kiki Rices, they're WNBA all over. There's no question about it. But you talked about Michaela Onyenwere. She grew so much at UCLA. Her skill development was, she couldn't shoot when she got to Westwood. And by the middle of her junior year, she was knocking down threes. She was driving to the basket. She was putting a whole array of skills into play that really had not been in her arsenal. And they work with the players very hard on little things. Even as I, watch them in some of the practices, they work on subtleties. They work on body positioning, angle of the shoulder, stuff that you don't think about, but makes a huge difference when you're attacking or defending. And the player development that this staff has been able to accomplish, I think is really spectacular. And I think that's a magnet for recruits.
Mm-hmm. Oh, definitely. I mean, and we're seeing it already. We have Lauren's younger sister, Sienna, coming into the program next year. And Bilic, who, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe she was the top Euro player this past year. So they're and just the fact that they are going across the pond to pick up players too. They're just getting players from everywhere. It's really fantastic to see.
I know the coaching staff, when they recruited Lena Nasalo, was really, really happy that they were able to get her to come to Westwood. And they have a pretty good eye at picking out European talent. Lena Bilic is 6'3". She's supposed to be absolutely great. And of course, Sienna Betts is up for the Naismith Award, and the high school player of the year. She's that good. Yeah. So the cupboard is going to get refilled pretty quick.
Mm-hmm. Well, two more real big things I want to ask you. I don't necessarily want to get your opinion because I know you have to have you're a professional. You got to get ready for the week ahead. But what do you think about this field? Just my gosh, not only are there so many talented teams across the nation, but it's coming at a key time when women's basketball is in the spotlight. The fact that we get to know about the LSUs and the South Carolinas and Notre Dames, USCs and UCLA, just what are your thoughts on what this tournament could be like?
Well, first of all, thank you for calling me a professional. I do try to be as objective as I can. I try not to be a homer when I'm calling the games. The tournament, I think, is going to be incredible. And, the big debate right now is who should be the overall number one seed. Charlie Cream of ESPN, who I respect greatly, he's told me, I've talked to him, and he said, I'm not giving you my opinions. I'm trying to predict what the selection committee is going to do. Mm-hmm. So he has South Carolina as a number one seed. A lot of the other evaluators have UCLA as the number one seed. Some are lobbying for UConn, but I think UCLA's numbers stand up really big. But when you start looking at the ones and the twos, UConn, South Carolina, Texas, although they got walloped yesterday or Saturday, Notre Dame, USC is a very solid team, whether you're blue and gold or not. And TCU, a team that has Haley Van Lith and a bunch of Pac-12 refugees, Sedona Prince and Donovan Hunter. That team is loaded. Mark Campbell's done a great job down in Fort Worth. It's going to be a wide open tournament. The fact that the Bruins are going to be a number one seed and are likely to be sent to Spokane is a big deal. Mm-hmm. Last year, the Bruins dropped that double overtime game to SC in the Pac-12 semifinals and got shipped to Albany, New York to play the defending national champions. So I think they're in a lot stronger position this year. And, I like staying in the time zone. I think the time zone difference is I think it's a bigger difference than the travel. The Big Ten, the Big Ten trips were pretty long trips. And after we were in Purdue, it felt like forever. When we left the hotel, I felt like I was moving out, not that I was just checking out. So the trips have been very, very long. And I think if the Bruins get to the second weekend, and we certainly hope they do, I think having them in Spokane will be a real advantage.
As far as being number one, they were number one for 12 straight weeks and then a 13th after winning the Big Ten championship. How do you think they've handled that? It's obviously a first, but as we've been talking about, there's character with this team. How do you think that they've handled that pressure, if at all?
Mike, I think the initial naming of number one, there was like a flash for a second, and then they went back to just doing what they do. Mm-hmm. I didn't notice anything different in their demeanor, in their preparation. I think they always knew they were good, and I think they were very happy that they were being recognized for being good. But I don't think it affected them at all. Not as much as I thought it would. I thought it would be a really huge deal, and it was a huge deal for 5 minutes, and then they just went back to work.
Ladies and gentlemen, Dave Marcus, the voice of UCLA women's basketball, joining us here. Thank you so much. One more thing I got to say. We have another question, Jake? What do you got? What do you got? Okay. I've been lobbying for UCLA women's basketball to be put on FM radio. How do we do that? Who do we talk to? Do we talk to 570 AM? How do we get Martin Jarman involved? Because the people need to hear about it. And then backtracking, going back to your professionalism, I do have to say, I remember listening to the games when you were in Hawaii this year, and there was a notable buzz. You talked about it. You said you're trying to fix it, but you just powered through, and that professionalism it just shined. And I'm like, how do more people don't know about Dave Marcus? This man is an announcing god. That's just me. I'm just saying, but that was professionalism right there.
Well, I really appreciate that. Sometimes, in the equipment, there's an audio hum, and you just do what you can to keep the hardest part was getting on the air in Paris. I mean, all my equipment was US current, and I had to convert it and then get somebody to hook me up with the internet. That was a harder one, but you try to get on any way you can. As far as the radio part, that's something that is way beyond my influence. I'm just happy they give me the key. No, I'm just happy they give me the keys to the headset and let me do it on whatever platform we do it on. That is, I appreciate the kind words, but fortunately there is an outlet for people to hear us. And it's uclabruins.com/watch. I know it says watch, but it's actually the audio, and we're there every game. And love to do it.
Awesome. Dave, thanks for joining the show. This is Jake, by the way. First of all, when you were at Birmingham, what was the mascot? They weren't the Patriots, right?
I don't think I'm allowed to say what the mascot was, but they were not the Patriots. They were not the Patriots.
I grew up in Riverside, and the mascot of my high school was the same as yours, and they were the Norte Vista Braves, and now it's gone, but that's what they were.
Different.
But go Patriots and go Birmingham. We're calling you from the Valley right now. I have all my kids went to Granada, so we're rivals, but it's okay. Thanks for joining the show very much. But I had one last question for you. What's been, you mentioned going on the road trips in the Big Ten. What has been your favorite new road trip? Not the tournament stuff, but or any of the special games, but like being on the Big Ten circuit. What were you impressed with or not impressed with?
Well, it's interesting. I had never been in Madison, Wisconsin. I'd done football games, basketball games all over the country. I'd never been to Madison. I really enjoyed it. And the week before we got there, it was like 3 below zero. And the days we were there, it was in the 40s and 50s. It was great. So really got a chance to walk around and enjoy that. The Big Ten atmosphere is great. The fans are very involved and very engaged. The venues are good. The game at Iowa with a sold out crowd, as loud as I've ever heard a crowd. And that was a 2-point win for the Bruins with 2 free throws from Alina Arnasalo with 3 seconds left. I mean, that was a great atmosphere. And, I've gotten a chance to know a lot of the Big Ten broadcasters. It's a cohesive group. A lot of them have been doing it for a long time. And I really enjoyed meeting with them. And we were supposed to all get together in Indianapolis, but our plane got in after they were all getting together, but I'm looking forward to that in the future. But the Big Ten was, they're supportive fan bases, they're passionate, and from a women's basketball standpoint, the Pac-12 was great, but the Big Ten is great too. And the Big Ten allowed so many different styles. There are teams that press you, there are teams that are big. It was a really good experience all around.
Oh, that's outstanding, man. And so thank you very much for your service to UCLA women's basketball and just to the universe in general. We really appreciate having you on the show, and we'd love to have you on anytime you want to come on to talk about UCLA women's basketball. Gosh, we're just hoping for big things in the tournament, right?
Yeah, I said let's play 6 more games.
Darn right.
I like that.
All right, folks, that's Dave Marcus, and get on and listen to him on UCLA Digital Radio. Dave, thanks for joining the show.
And follow him on the Twitter.
Thank you.
At Dave PBP. That's Paul Bruin Paul.
Well, it's actually play-by-play.
Oh, even better. There you go. I'm just trying to do the Army alphabet just so people can hear what letter I say. But yeah, play-by-play.
There you go, gentlemen.
Wow,
thank you very much.
That makes so much sense.
Wow, Mike, that's great.
Once in a while, something I do makes sense. Thank you very much for having me on, guys. Really appreciate it.
Dave, thank you very much, and have fun in the tournament.
Have a good night.
Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.
All right, Mikey, great job with that interview. That was excellent work, my friend.
Yeah, he what game was it? It was one of the last regular season games at Poly Pavilion, and I was looking around doing pregame stuff, and he comes up, he's like, "Hey, nice to finally meet you. I only see you when you do your walking videos on Twitter."
Oh, fun.
I was like, Dave Marcus, this is so cool.
Very good.
So yeah, no, and yeah, that was one of the first things I asked him because we had talked about it. And he was just like, "Yes, I would love to." I was like, "Oh, well, that was easy. All right, well, let's do it." And I figured this week specifically, since the Bruins and pretty much every women's basketball team has the week off, as Selection Sunday is this Sunday. All the conference championships ended over the weekend or the last few days. But yeah, no, that was a fun chat.
Absolutely, and I do like that you tried to make play-by-play into Paul Bruin. Paul. Going with the alphanumeric or whatever.
It sounded like I was saying PVP.
Well, I thought it was when you first told me to, and I wrote down
exactly.
V.
Yeah, I was like,
and then when you go Paul Bruin Paul, it makes more sense.
Yeah,
Although
exactly.
it stands for play-by-play.
Play-by-play.
However,
I'm like,
Mike, pop quiz hotshot.
What's up?
What would it be if you were in the Army or something? What would it be? You got 50% right.
Paul. Bravo. Paul Bravo.
If you're in the
Paul,
Army, it'd be Bravo. Paul Bravo. What would it be if you're like me in local law enforcement?
Ugh. I have no idea.
Paul Boy Paul.
Oh,
We go boy instead of Bravo.
interesting.
So there you go. But
Nice.
what do we do instead of that when we're, UCLA guys? Paul Bruin.
Paul.
Makes perfect sense. So good job, Mikey.
My middle name is Paul.
Good job, man. I'm proud of you, buddy.
Never knows that name.
Very good. So now that we've had that great interview, let's finish talking about UCLA women's basketball today. Get right into basketball talk.
Women's.
UCLA women's basketball.
Basketball.
Hey, Nancy. So, Mike, they finally got some
My
hardware,
God.
and it's awesome.
I know I have to be a little unbiased, but for everyone in that program, especially Corey Close and her coaches who have been doing this for a while.
Go Bruins. Go Bruin!
Woo!
That was a good. That was
Go Bruins!
yeah. There
I'm
did
happy that UCLA won.
It was good.
did seem to be a little bit of weight taken off their shoulders. Finally, getting something proving that they are an elite team and doing it against a team who beat them twice already in the regular season, who was kicking their butts in
Avenge
the first
their loss.
half.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Well, and I wanted to ask Dave about that, but he said that he thought that they handled the pressure of being number one throughout the season so well. There wasn't really a follow up to be had there. But I really, wanted to know what you thought about that, Mike, about kind of avenging the loss, recovering from being riding number one all season basically, and then losing at the very end. This could have gone another way. It could have been, they're down in the doldrums and playing a tough team like USC for the third time. Like I said, they started out pretty poorly, but they really rallied and finished, and that speaks a lot about what the character of this team is, in my opinion.
And even through the whole tournament too, because I wrote an article. I wouldn't say it's scathing, but it basically called. It listed what Corey Close has done and what she hasn't done. And we've been talking about this, not just this season, but for years, that she needs some hardware to kind of validate the success that this program has. And this is a good first step. I think, again, going to a Final Four would be awesome. Winning the Natty would be even better.
And just to be clear, if they wouldn't have won this tournament, but would have had great success in the NCAA tournament, that would have been the same thing we were talking about.
Oh,
it's just
definitely.
Now they got one under their belt.
Yeah.
It's not even necessarily the one we would have preferred, but it's still something.
Exactly.
And the way that they did it in avenging the loss, that's pretty great. So that's good. You can't take this away from them. Obviously, if they hit disaster in the NCAA tournament, then that kind of will wash away the shine of this. But, it sets them up, I think, very well. Mike, what do you think was the big difference at the end of that game? After losing SC twice, after being losing the game in the first half.
Yeah. Well, what
turnaround?
In that article, I said that three things need to happen. Lauren Betts needs to stop being timid. She seemed timid in that last USC game. She needs to dominate. She can't let the defense
injured in the first and timid in the second. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, roughly. And yeah, especially in both games against USC, it just seemed like she was waiting to see what the USC defense was going to do before she, acted upon it. And
Gotcha.
she can't do that. She needs to be a baller.
Yeah, I know. I should really
check
be
one.
more on the ball.
Straight baller.
Check one off. Number 2, Kiki Rice and Gabriela Jaquez needed to start faster. They did that. Check number 3. I checked number 2. Number 3 also checked off the 3-point shooting. Yeah, that did sound weird.
But
anyway,
at least you made the 3-point shooting the check 3.
yes.
There you go.
Oh, very good.
It's all better now.
London Jones, who now I believe she's moved into 4th place all time for UCLA made 3-pointers. She came alive in this tournament. Angela Dugalich, Tamia Gardner, really key 3-point shooting, and all of those. It wasn't consistent, but it did enough to freaking blow Nebraska out of the water in the quarterfinals. They won that 85-74. They took on number 3 Ohio State, destroyed them 75-46, and you could see this team was starting faster. They were
That Ohio State game was
cohesive.
way impressive.
Wow, I was like, this is against the number 3 team.
Well, and that was a team that was the one that they won going down the stretch, and it turned into an ugly score. But that was a neck and neck battle the first time they played them.
Yeah, exactly.
So I mean, that was they just obliterated. Yeah.
And even in my USC preview, I said that if USC and UCLA meet before, I wrote this before the tournament started. Like, if they meet, I can't see UCLA beating this team. And then the Nebraska and Ohio State games occurred, and I'm like, oh, this is different. They are
got the eye of the tiger back a little bit.
Oh yeah, they're running on all cylinders. And then the first half of the USC game happened, and I'm like, how is this happening for a third time? How are the Bruins not making changes? How are they not different? How they started out those games the way they did the other 2 USC games and not the first 2 games of the Big Ten tournament. Luckily, there's a second half, and the Bruins just shut down USC. They shut down Juju Watkins. I didn't think that was possible. She had a really good first half, but UCLA just did not let her do anything. And Lauren Betts was a defensive beast in the paint, just stopping everything. What was USC, I believe, only had 2 out of 13 in the fourth quarter, and they didn't make their first shot until like a minute left in the game. Their first field goal. It was insane how the Bruins just took them out. They just took away their game plan. They took away their big star, and it didn't seem like Lindsey Gottlieb, USC's head coach, made that many changes. It still seemed to be like, okay, get the ball to Juju. And once UCLA kind of figured out how to shut them down, it was just UCLA's for the taking. And now here's the other thing. It did take them a little bit of time because UCLA also had long stretches where they didn't have any offense, but they just slowly pulled themselves in front of the Trojans, held them, at arm's length, and just enough in the last few minutes to have I think in the last 3-4 minutes UCLA had a two or three possession. They made it a 2 or 3 possession game, and USC came close within a minute. But again, UCLA just pulled out ahead and was absolutely fantastic in that game. And yeah, just to see that buzzer hit 0-0 and just the Bruins running towards each other and the jubilation and celebration and the smiles on all their faces as we talked about with Mr. Marcus. It was good. It was relieving. It was, for a second, I kind of felt like Admiral Akbar after they blew up the second Death Star.
Yeah.
When everyone's celebrating and he just sits in his seat and goes, he just big sigh of relief. I nerded out there. It was just it was a good moment for UCLA women's basketball because it did validate what they've been doing all season long. And it's not over, but man, that was one hell of a win.
It was a good way to cap the Big Ten procedures, pretty much.
Exactly.
But this game, the game too, it was in the second game when USC wrapped up the Big Ten title, that was kind of a little bit of a boat race, and that SC got off to a big lead, and then they kind of played even the second half, but it was all right. The Bruins couldn't recover. But this game really played out a lot like that first game did, the March 1st game. Not the March 1st game, the February 13th game, I should say. And when SC gets out to a lead early, and then UCLA has a nice lead in the third quarter going into the fourth, and then it just became the Juju show after that. And that's when we were really like, well, this is the chance for Betts versus Juju, see who the player of the year is, and all that yada yada yada. And then that question, there was an emphatic answer that night for that question, because they couldn't do anything with Juju.
Yeah.
And Betts also was banged up in that game too.
Yeah.
But the team as a whole could not handle anything that Watkins had for them, and that carried into the season finale, the season finale, where SC came home with the Big Ten title, regular season title as well. But Mike, if these two teams meet, before we talk about what the overall tournament seedings are and all that can be, what they could possibly be, but if these two teams, who very easily could meet again in the NCAA tournament at some point, probably in a very a late stage, or it'll be in a late stage game. How do you think the Bruins will fare in matchup number 4? Like, do you give the advantage to the Bruins or to the Trojans? Where are you at with that?
Even though USC collapsed and the Bruins just shut them out, just absolutely dominated them on defense, I don't think that I don't even know, that could happen again. But I think we just have to wait to see how they do in the first, because most likely both of them are going to be, I know we're going to get into seedings, but if both of them are number 1, they're going to be in different regions. And most likely, yeah. In
all likelihood, if they do play again, it would be in the Final Four in the championship game. I mean, that's
probably the Final Four, because if USC and UCLA get these, it's weird. There are 2 Spokane regionals. Again, like we talked about, spread it out, people. That's what I wanted to ask Dave Marcus. Like, in this day and age where we're having equality amongst women's and men's basketball, why the hell are we having 2 regions in one city and 2 regions in another city? Why aren't there 4 different freaking cities?
Mike.
Anyway,
that's reality, Mike.
I know.
Do you think the money has caught up with women's basketball yet?
Oh, it's getting there. It's way better than it was 5 years ago.
Okay, has it caught up?
Well,
not even a little fucking bit. So
yes, it has caught up a bit. But
even so,
that's not
a bad thing. But I'm just saying, like, the product is great. The viewership is going up.
Mm-hmm.
But do you think the contracts involved with women's basketball are in any way close to, even in a level of magnitude, anywhere near the men's NCAA tournament, which has been a staple in American society for 50 years now? Like, it's just, that's why. But, hopefully 10 years from now,
definitely,
we do have 4s everything. But don't come at me with that, bro.
Oh, no, I'm coming at you, bro. No, it's nowhere near the men's team. But I mean, I'm trying to find. I think it's Albany,
and that's okay, because it's
okay, why is this
skyrocketing. It's going up. It's
good. Definitely. But there's a lot more money and a lot more invested in women's basketball right now. But either way, having 2 regions in Spokane, why isn't this in Seattle or the Bay Area or LA or Phoenix, Vegas, Denver, whatever? That's one thing. To have both regions in Spokane, to have all these teams, that grinds my gears, Jake.
Group rates. Bulk discount.
Anyway, so back to my point. If both are going to be number 1, they're most likely both, unless they do USC dirty and give them the East Coast number 1. But I could see that both the Bruins and the Trojans get the number 1 in Spokane, so they could probably meet in the Final Four. Back to your original question.
Mm-hmm.
It just depends on how both of them play.
Let me ask a follow-up to my original question, so you can pose again. And really what I'm thinking about is UCLA, and I said, earlier in this, when we were going to the end of the season, I thought that USC was in a prime drafting position behind the UCLA team, because they had picked up a couple like weird losses or whatever, but they're still highly ranked and they were still ready to go, and Juju was still over there. And UCLA had the stress and pressure of dealing with being number 1 for how many weeks in a row? 12, 13 weeks in a row?
Yeah.
Whatever it was. And so there were games at the end, coming into the end of that streak when they played SC that first time, where it was wearing on them a little bit. I think we thought that, whether that's true or not, that's what we thought. That's what it appeared to us.
Mm-hmm.
And then SC comes in and pulls out that game where UCLA kind of collapsed at the end, and then they ride that crest to the Big Ten title and that UCLA season finale where they kind of put it to UCLA in that last game.
Mhm.
But going into the Big Ten tournament, that dynamic certainly was shifted. UCLA was able to be a little bit under the radar as much as they could be, being the highly talented team they are, and that was a little bit of motivation to give them the eye of the tiger back, as you said that they definitely saw that with them again.
Yeah.
So now going into the NCAA tournament, if these two teams meet again, is there an advantage for either team, or is it just a dead? Just like now they've there's like boxers going into the later rounds of a fight where it's been almost a stalemate, even if SC's a little bit ahead on the scorecard.
Yeah.
And the head edge. Is there an advantage there or not for either team, and why?
I think so, because I think UCLA gave other teams as well as themselves a blueprint at how to stop USC. I had these numbers here before, and Juju Watkins in that game shot 9 for 28. She shot 28 times. The next closest was 12 by Kiki Irfan. By period, first quarter, USC shot 55%, second 37%, third 23%. We're going down. Fourth quarter, they shot 21%. UCLA found a way to really put the pressure on Juju Watkins, and I think a lot of teams are going to be trying to do that. So if you take away Juju Watkins, you have some talent, but it's not an elite team without her. On the other side,
I still say it's easier said than done, but okay.
Definitely. Because UCLA is an elite defensive team, so that helps too. But there are other, once it's going to get harder for both of them. But I think for UCLA too, USC kind of exposed UCLA as a team that might start slow. So if you're a team that just jumps out to a huge lead, playing from behind is always hard, especially when it's a one and done situation in the tournament. So if teams jump out to a quick start against UCLA, I think that's going to hurt them. But oppositely, USC, they want it all too. They don't just want the just one conference championship. They want to prove that they're a Final Four team. They're an elite team, just as well as UCLA. As I said, that they really showed how talented and tough they could be in this last game with Jaquez and Rice starting fast, with Betts just dominating the paint, and with 3-point shooting being on par. I still think that's going to continue. And so if they meet again, that's just going to be one brutal battle. That's like World War IV. It's going to be an insane battle. I looked at the NCAA projections. It does seem that UCLA and USC will be in Spokane. Oh, and also Birmingham. Yeah, Birmingham is the other region. 2 regions, whatever. So, yeah, spread it around, women's team. There's more money in like Chicago and Phoenix and Cleveland.
You know what else?
And Denver.
Those places are a lot more expensive to go to. Just send a whole bunch of people in planes to, Mike. That's how I feel about that.
This is America.
Yes, it is.
Spend some money. Capitalists over here. So punk rock.
It's very, very American for you to suggest that the women should take out loans to get all these tournaments handled. That's okay. That's fine. Mikey.
What's up?
In regards, we'll get to the tournament in a second, but
Yeah.
just last little thing on this SC UCLA. We don't even know if they're going to match up. Like, still long, odds are long, but I think it would be fascinating for them to hit each other up again. But why were the Bruins just red hot from 3 in this last game? Or could you point to any reason why they were so bad shooting from 3 in the first 2 games and like lights out this time? Anything from your eyes, or who was shooting, or do you have any sort of opinion about why they were getting better looks or any of that? Does that register with you at all?
I think it's just more confidence. And my God, there were a few times where I think, London Jones got 4 fouls late in that game. And when she got her 4th foul, because what did she shoot? Where was she? It's here somewhere. Everybody stay with me. London Jones, 3 of 4. Pretty badass. And when she got her 4th foul, she just had this look on her like, oh, stay out of her way. And I think that just added to her whole mentality of just trying to be there for the team and give them everything they can, especially from from the arc. You also had Dugalich, that was 2 for 2. Gardner, 3 of 8, not great, but hey, take 12 extra points. And I think in those 2 previous games, they were just playing from behind, that they were trying to just force everything, especially at the game at Poly Pavilion. My God, so many bricks there. There's another house that, Poly Pavilion's the house that Wooden built. All those bricks. Very close could have built a house.
And I guess
comedy
in the first game and in the first game and in this last game, they really, I guess, didn't have that many 3-point attempts. Looking at it, it really was the majority. It was Gardner and Dudelich and Leonard Jones who shot, all but one, I think, in this last game, and they just all shot a pretty decent percentage. I think Gardner was like 3 for 8, but the other 2 for 2 and 2 for 3 or whatever for the other ones. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think that's you got to hope that the Bruins can shoot, and you got to hope that, kind of basic, and you got to hope that whatever they did to limit Juju down the stretch and in this last game is duplicatable. And it's not one of those things where it's like, an NBA game set, 7-game series, and it's like the adjustments game to game.
Yeah.
And there's a distinct advantage for the team that's, that lost the game before, because now it's like, well, how are they going to adjust? And then how does the coaching staff of the, respond to the adjustments after that? So it is fascinating. I think that, I don't know. I mean, I think I'd rather the Bruins go right to the championship game and then the Trojans, get upset early just so we could, go ha.
Oh, I would be happy with a USC loss in the first weekend.
I mean, wouldn't we always? But that's probably not in the cards, and these are two very formidable teams, and so it wouldn't surprise either of us if they ended up with a 4th match, and that would be fun for the Bruins if they could, even up the season series too. But whatever.
I didn't even think about that. Yeah,
whatever.
Especially with so much riding on. Oh, that would be a good one.
That'd be fun. It would also be absolutely brutal to lose to them and have the only 3 losses of the season be the 2 that eliminated you from the Big Ten title regular season and then eliminate you from the NCAA title.
Yeah.
That
would hurt. That would be painful.
Unbelievably sucky. So I don't know. So we'll see.
Yeah.
With that being said, Mike, it looks like there's a good possibility. We talked to Dave a little bit about that, but it looks like there's a good possibility the Bruins end up as the number 1 overall seed.
Yes.
Coming off the Big Ten.
I think so too, because and the one thing that hurt, actually 2 things that helped UCLA is they beat USC, so that dropped the Trojans down, and Texas got walloped by South Carolina in their conference tournament, and Texas was number 1 prior to this week, where UCLA reclaimed number 1 for the 13th week this season, and I think just with that, the net rankings, the total resume, the record versus the top 25, I don't see how UCLA isn't the number 1 overall seed.
Well, that's awesome. And we'll take it. And so if they're the number 1 seed, they're definitely going to be a number 1 seed, number 1.
Yeah.
And they're probably going to be the number 1, or I don't know about probably, but there's a good chance that they're the number 1 overall seed. And so that should, in and of itself, make it pretty fun just to watch this team go right to the Sweet 16 with like no real problems at all, theoretically. Right, Mike? I mean, that should be a pretty fun opening weekend of the tournament. It should be based on the level of competition they're going to be playing. And so hopefully they can use that as a workout, any kinks that they may be feeling. And, then we can just worry about the tougher matchups that are there to come. Obviously, Corey Close and the women's team can't take any of these opponents for granted, but us watching from the outside, we sure as hell can. Let's just hopefully have a really nice first weekend and let all the other teams get upset and go ha-ha to everybody else as the Bruins march into the Sweet 16. That's what I'm hoping for. There's not really too much else to say about that until we know exactly what the matchups are, right, Mike?
Exactly, and that we're going to find out on Sunday. I'm actually going to be at UCLA covering the tournament bracket reveal. So yeah, my job will probably be done early and out, because if UCLA is the number 1 overall seed, they're going to be announced first, and I go do my work, publish it, boom, I'm done.
Here's hoping that's the issue, Mike.
Yeah, seriously.
I really do.
Yeah.
Okay,
so
well, with that being said, then why don't we get to men's?
Let's do it.
All right, so the men's team finished off the season kicking the living shit
Jeez, man, it was brutal.
out of the USC Trojans, which was awesome. And
UCLA
I know
was
Michael was
2-0
happy.
against USC
I'm happy that UCLA won.
this weekend.
Michael was happy. At least he
I'm
was
happy that UCLA won.
That's right. It was good. What did you think about that game, Mikey?
I didn't think it was I thought UCLA was going to win. I didn't think they were going to win like that. They defeated USC, swept the season series, beat them 90-63. UCLA had a very comfortable win against USC at the Galen Center, a place where they don't normally play well. And, they got the win. But this is Eric Musselman's first year. I guess he's at where people expected him to be as a first-year USC coach. And he's already doing a good job on the recruiting trail. So that's, it's a dangerous sign for the future. But as of now, yeah, he had to put this team together, and it was just, they've just struggled all season long. UCLA, just in the first 5 minutes, just absolutely dominated this game. Poly Pavilion was packed. I wasn't there. We got other coverage for that game, but yeah, as soon as 10 minutes in, I was like, yeah, this is over. By halftime, I'm like, yep, this is over. UCLA was winning 39-27.
The game flow chart looks wonderful.
It's just too.
UCLA never trails, and it just spreads
It
right.
just keeps getting
out.
wider and wider,
It's
and the
beautiful.
gap is bigger and bigger.
Beautiful.
But yeah, this was a game in which the UCLA could basically do whatever they wanted on offense. Eric Daly Jr., just an absolute freaking beast with 25 points, 10 of 13. Insane. 4 of 5 from the 3-point line. My guy, Tyler Bilodeau, who gets a lot of flack for having no defense, but, sometimes he's been the only consistent offensive scorer. He had 12 in this game, 6 for 12. And we also had three other players in double digits. Sky Clark, who his offense has really been productive. He has come into his own finally. It took a while. He had to understand how to play Cronin ball, but he's been doing really well. He was 7 of 10 for 17 points. Adai Mara, who knew that playing him several minutes could be very good for UCLA? 14 points, 6 of 7. Only 2 rebounds, but whatever. And
7 guys shot at least 50% or better.
Yeah, right.
Awesome.
Sebastian Mack, 3 of 4, 10 points. So 5 guys in double digits. I mean, this was just brutal. And the defense was pretty good too. I mean, that's what Mick Cronin prides himself on. USC only shot 42%, 31 from 3-point from the 3-point line. But yeah, in contrast, UCLA shot 61%. Insane. 45% from the arc. This game just came together for UCLA, and I think that having that type of game is going to enhance their good qualities. UCLA is obviously 22-9. They've had some troubles here and there. Going on the road has not been kind to them. What is the? Let me look for the record. But UCLA has not. They're not the most dominant team in the nation, or in the Big Ten for that matter, but they're at least in the top 4, and they're getting that coveted double bye, which is going to help them to
things kind of worked out.
Yeah,
against all odds.
Oh my God, it's it literally came down to if this team loses, then this team has to lose, and then if UCLA wins, they get the 4th spot.
I don't think
it happened.
Crispy Bruin gave us the update on that.
Yeah, he broke it down.
Here we go. We're
and thanks to all the Slack peoples for showing up and giving us all that great information. But it was it just worked out for UCLA. They're not perfect, but hey, I think we saw in this game exactly what they could do. Now I'm just a little bit worried because, as I said, USC is not a good team. They will probably get better in the next few years the way Musselman is recruiting, but UCLA has had their mistakes. And they beat a pretty bad USC team. Now, can they have that same effort in the Big Ten championship? That's going to be interesting. And we do not yet know exactly who they're going to play because of the double bye. As I said, down their flow chart, I guess, whatever. In the first day, Northwestern and Minnesota go at it. The winner takes on Wisconsin the next day. The winner of that takes on UCLA on Friday. So we don't yet know, but UCLA lost to Minnesota. They kicked the crap out of Iowa, and they beat Wisconsin. So, Minnesota's not a great team, and that's like their one really bad loss of the season. And it was kind of doom and gloom after UCLA lost that. But since then, they're 1-1, 2-1, 3-1, especially with that big win over USC. So things are looking up. I think they've won 11 out of the last 14 games, I think it was.
Yeah. But the draw is they're in their game in the semifinal, where they're playing Wisconsin, Northwestern, or Minnesota. Right?
Yes, exactly.
And then if they win that game, then they go on and they're either going to play Indiana, Oregon, or Michigan State.
Yeah.
The way I understand it. And most likely Michigan State, theoretically, by chalk.
And that's going to be a tough game because UCLA got that win at Pauley Pavilion. Yeah. Very close, grinded out defensive game for both teams, but UCLA ended up getting that win. So that's going to be really interesting to see how Michigan State and Tom Izzo react to a team that gave them one of their few losses of the season.
Yeah. The Big Ten champion, Michigan State Spartans. So, and then who knows who they play on the other side of it. Obviously, all the teams are in play over there. But, Mike, so then how do you feel about them going into this tournament then? Like, do you like have an expectation of how far they should go? Or do you have an expectation about, or, are you like really hoping that they can win the Big Ten tournament just like the women did? I mean, being a top 4 seed in it obviously gives them an advantage. They only got to win a couple games to put themselves in position to win it. 3 games, you win it.
That's going to be tough because thank God for getting the double bye because I don't know if they could win 4 in a row. Let's say they beat Michigan State, which is going to be a tough deal. But then they have to face either Maryland or Michigan, 2 teams that beat them in the regular season. And Maryland, they won, 79-61. Kind of a beating. But their worst loss of the season was the game before that, where Michigan and at home too, on their home floor, Michigan just brutalized it. And my computer's flipping out, so I'll get the score whenever it comes up. But yeah, I believe UCLA lost by 20 plus points.
But if they play Michigan, that means they're playing them in the final, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So I mean, whatever. Like once they get into the final, if they win a couple games, they beat Michigan State. I mean, whatever. I mean, they theoretically could beat anybody that they're playing, and they could lose anybody too. But squeaking into that, protected seat or whatever, certainly made it a lot easier to conceive of them winning, the tournament. And then you wonder how that affects, where they go in the NCAA tournament. Right now, they're kind of put down for like a 6 by most of the places, it seems like.
I think with ESPN's bracketology, the last 2 weeks, they were a 6 seed in the East.
Yeah.
One in the East and one in the South, I believe it was. This week, I think they're a 5 seed in the West. And, as Mick Cronin said today in his presser, he's not so much concerned about seeding, which kind of makes sense. He's not so much concerned about seeding, but location. Because if you just have to go right
over there
up the coast to play a game, even if it's against a good team, most likely that team is probably coming from across the country. So yeah, just being able to not spend a lot of time traveling and resting and getting ready for whatever the NCAA tournament throws at them. I still think it's going to be a challenge, but I do like the way that UCLA is kind of trending up, especially with their offense lately. So if UCLA can have an offensive game close to, because I don't think Michigan State is going to allow them to do that, but if they do something close to what they did against USC, I think they could take out Michigan State pretty easily and carry that over to whoever they face in the championship game.
And looking at how they will fare in the selection committee for the NCAA tournament, we're not going to get too far into it right here, but if you listen to Mike's boss.
I hate it when podcasters talk about what they're drinking.
And the anarchist.
I'm a bomb-throwing anarchist now.
On the broadcast.
Bro, Bro.
They had a pretty long, extensive conversation about how the quad system and how that relates to how it gets derived from the ChemPom analytical system, all that stuff. And it was interesting to hear like their takes on it. So that was a pretty, like I said, if you want to hear more about that, like, I'd go listen to that because it was a pretty good discussion. But with that being said, right, Mike, last week, or do you have anything else to say about men's basketball at this point?
No, I think we hit it, especially going into
what happens.
Yeah, I mean, we have the Big Ten tournament this week, the end of this week, and then Selection Sunday. UCLA UCLA has locked up a spot in the NCAA tournament, but who knows where they're going to be? We'll find out on Sunday.
And very good. And we promised to do something last week, and that is to come up with a selection or a NCAA tournament bracket.
Oh yeah,
for men's and women's.
Mm-hmm.
And so here it is. For the men's tournament, we're going to keep it real simple. And the name of the group is What's Bruin Men's Tournament Challenge. And for the women, it is What's Bruin Women's Tournament Challenge. And there will be links in the show notes to join. Please feel free to join and send it to your friends. I believe it's one entry per group, or per bracket, one bracket per group. So yeah, please join that, and we will have a prize for whoever the winner or winners are on both sides of that, in the men's and the women's. And good luck to you all. And that's pretty awesome.
Oh yeah, wait. So this is a men's one?
There's a men's one and there's a women's one.
Yeah.
And it's the right one because it's called the What's Bruin, men's or women's tournament challenge. And there's a picture of Chewbacca as the logo because they didn't have any bears.
I'm channeling Jack Nicholson.
And I couldn't put our logo on there.
I'm channeling Jack Nicholson in Anger Management when he does the whole yes thing, that creepy yes. That's a fantastic meme.
That's good. Excellent.
Hells yeah.
All right, good job, Mikey. All right, so yeah, join that. Look in the show notes for the links, or just search that on the ESPN site. It's an ESPN tournament challenge logo. All right. Well, Mike, got anything else?
No, I think we covered a lot of basketball.
There we go.
What's brewing with you? You ask me. What's brewing with me? Yeah. What's brewing with you? What's brewing with me? What's brewing with you?
Mikey, what's wrong with you?
Oh, busy weekend. Both of my daughters had
Daughters great, aren't they?
love them. I love them. But they're a lot. They're extra. Both of my daughters had some sort of school function this week, Friday and Saturday. My pop star, she had a musical theater. They did Emma, based on the book, both on Friday and Saturday. So she was a busy little one. Oh my God, poor thing. They had 4 p.m. to 9 p.m. rehearsals every day last week up until Friday. So she was like, she really liked doing it. She enjoyed it, but she is so glad that it's over. She was like, that was a lot of work the last week. But no, did a fantastic job. And I asked her about it, and she goes, I like being in the chorus, but I kind of want to try to go for a lead spot. I'm like, all right, dear. The next year, when you go out for whatever role you want to, I need you to be that person that you are whenever you play a board game. Because she's a little monster. Poppy, she's a little quiet, a little reserved. Takes some time for her to kind of like open up.
Absolutely.
You put a deck of Uno cards in front of her, she becomes the devil.
I like it.
I'm like, baby, you got to do that's what you need to do. Awesome. On Saturday, my daughter Violet, she had her first dance rehearsal for her high school, and my God, she danced a solo number beautifully. Such a proud dad. I didn't catch it in the moment because I was videoing it, but halfway through, I'm looking, I'm like, oh my God, it's gorgeous. Dude, she danced to Beautiful by Lana Del Rey. Freaking tears in my eyes, bro.
That's wonderful.
It was awesome.
That's so cool, Mike.
And she was also part of 3 other of the dances. And I was watching her, like, I've seen her dance before. She practices at home. She does her thing, but being up there, she just turned into another person. She went to her own world, and she was just dancing queen. I was very proud of both of them. So that's what we did over the weekend.
That's outstanding.
On Sunday, Sunday I was watching the women's basketball game, and freaking hell, just that was as Ice Cube said, it was a good day. It was a good day, and it got even better because it was because of the damn time change. It was lighter later, and a one Mr. Cobra Nose has been trying to get me down to the South Bay, and since
Matt.
since I didn't have anything to do, finally on Sunday evening, went down to. He's been wanting to go to this new tiki bar called the Hula Hula Room.
Nice.
I know it's in Torrance. It's in West Torrance, I believe. But anyway, really fun spot. I maybe had one extra drink than I should have, but they're Mai Tais.
Do you remember any of the names? Oh, they were all Mai Tais? Or?
No. They had about 20.
Oh, what did you have?
The first one I have, oh God, I can't remember. It was a blue drink. I always look for the blue drinks. I love the blue curacao. And I know that they're sweet. This one was pretty freaking sweet, but Matt first ordered the Mai Tai, and I'm like, I'm getting that one next.
Yeah.
So yeah, Monday.
Mai Tais can be very potent too. But also very sweet.
Monday morning, I wake up, I'm like, what the hell? And then with the time change at like Monday, I was just out of it. I was like, okay, we're going to coast here on a Monday. We're going to do as much work as I need to. We're not going to go above and beyond.
Yeah.
So I'm just saying. But it was a pack weekend. Jake, what's brewing with you? What'd you do?
No, I did stuff, but that's not what we're going to talk about.
Oh my.
Jake,
Haven't had one of these in a while.
Jake.
Yeah. Well, you had one too.
He watches too much TV.
Yeah.
No one can get through to him. Jake, I really hope you know that Doctor Who is fake. Jake, there's more to life than Sherlock, just to fight a new girl. Wait, no, there's not. Watch this show.
I haven't watched the show really quick and got done with it because I just haven't been watching as much TV lately for whatever reasons. It's been super busy, but I spent a couple days, me and the wife, watching the Netflix series that just came out based on loosely based on the Los Angeles Lakers. And that is Running Point, which is about your Los Angeles Waves. And it's starring none other than Kate Hudson, right? An older Kate Hudson.
What is this? I haven't on Netflix?
It's on Netflix. And it's a show that one of the main creators of it is Mindy Kaling from The Office and from the other shows that she did.
Yeah.
Mindy
Kaling show?
Yeah, the Mindy Kaling show. Thank you. I was grasping that.
Just got to start on the Walk
It
of
was
Fame.
made in cooperation with Jeannie Buss. And this is like a very, very, very alternate reality version of a team that is vaguely reminiscent of the Los Angeles Lakers, right? Nothing is NBA certified in this, and it's definitely its own original story. There are characters that have qualities of the particular Buss, family members, and like Jeannie's character, which in the show she's Isla Gordon, right? And it's the Gordon family, and so they refer to the now passed on patriarch of the family who was doing cocaine and winning NBA championships in the 80s, and like
who could that be?
and like partying like a rock star his entire life. So they make reference to the late great Dr. Buss, but in a very kind of a
subtle
way, a fun way. It's obviously drawn from him, but it's not him, right?
Yeah.
Isla Gordon there's at the beginning of the very first episode, they have a replica shot of her doing her Playboy spread where she's got the basketballs in front of her. It's the most like Jeannie Buss thing in the entire show as far as like drawn right from reality.
Yeah.
But then everything else is just a very, stylized version, a very funny character that they created that I imagine has shades of Jeannie Buss, but isn't Jeannie Buss. Like the plot lines diverge from, recorded history quite a bit.
So
but it's still reminiscent enough to be, oh, that's fun,
So it focuses on the main character, which is this owner of a basketball
team. The setup
team
of the show is because the LA Waves are Los Angeles, basketball franchise of record.
What are the colors?
They've won a bunch of. It's like orange and blue. They're like Pepperdine, basically. But it's totally different from the Lakers, but not. It's totally different, but not. So, anyways, the older patriarch has passed on, and now the team is in control. Is ran by all of the siblings, and there's 1, 2, 3. There's like to start with. There's like 4. And the oldest sibling, which you would think would be like a parallel for Jim Buss, but it's not. But he loses control of the team because he goes on a bender in episode 1 and has to go to rehab. And so then Jeannie is tabbed as the replacement. I said Jeannie. Isla is tabbed as a replacement. And so then the show sprouts from there. So like I said, there are things that are reminiscent of the Lakers story, but it's completely different than that. And I think, very enjoyable for someone who knows nothing about basketball or for someone who knows a lot about the story, because there's little Easter eggs in there that are kind of sort of point to stuff that was real stuff. Don't get me wrong. This is a half-hour show. It's like 10 episodes. It's very cliche as far as all the basketball, like the actual staged basketball is like dreadfully horrible. Like there's all these close-up shots of players that are supposed to be like 7 foot tall, and they're actually like, I think like 6'2". And there's a couple of cool shots of people dunking. Kelly Olynyk is in it as an opposing player at some point, and he looks like an athlete, but some of the other guys, not so much. So lots of the technical parts of the show are kind of goofy, but the plot lines are really fun. It's very easy to watch, and there are enough Easter eggs for Laker fans. You're like, oh, that's fun, and they're annoying things.
That's good.
But if you are a Laker fan at all, I think there's a lot in here that is fun to enjoy, and it's completely easy to do because it's only like 3 total hours or whatever. Over the thing. So yeah, one of my nitpicks that I'll nitpick is at a certain point, one of the teams creeps into the playoffs with the last, in the last game of their season, but then they're hosting Game 7 of the Western Conference Finals. How does that math work? I don't know, right?
Yeah, because
those are the kind of things that you could tell. Obviously, this is written for convenience and not by anybody who actually knows how anything in basketball works. So just go in mind, think of that. Oh, and then I actually buried the lead here. One of the most enjoyable characters for me to watch in the show is played by none other than Chet freaking Hanks. Okay, and he plays an obnoxious point guard who also raps, and it's just like it's kind of like the whole show, very close to what you imagine reality might be, but then an offshoot of that. And he's super annoying, but he's super good as being the annoying guy in the show. Like I can't say
he's super good at being the annoying guy in real life.
I'm just saying, like, I don't know. I never met him, but he seems like, but in the show, it's pretty funny. His little, his arc in the show. It's pretty great. That's really all I'll say about it. It's a fun show to watch. And if you like basketball at all, if you like Kate Hudson at all, I think she's really good in the show as well. I haven't seen her around in a while. And the other characters, like Justin Theroux's in it as the brother who goes to rehab, and he's funny in it, even though he's got limited role. And the other guy, the guy who plays what I think is like I don't know, like a 65% version of what Jim Buss was supposed to be. But don't be wrong, all these things are like amalgamations of character traits of all of them, and then they threw them all in a blender, and then whatever spit out is what the characters were. But I think my favorite character in the show is the guy who plays the second oldest brother, and he's I think he's supposed to be sort of Jim Buss-ish, and he's just he's so funny, and it's great. So anyways,
that's awesome.
I enjoyed it as a Laker fan.
All right, I'll check it out.
I think you will too. So Mike and you, we're going to talk about it right now, but you said you watched the first episode of Daredevil.
It's funny,
the new Daredevil reboot.
Between September and April, I don't get a lot of time to myself, maybe during Christmas break where I catch up on a lot of these TV shows. So at the beginning of last week, I saw the first 2 episodes of Cobra Kai. Loving it already. Final season. I absolutely love that series. But then, was it on Friday, I believe it was, or Monday? Either way, recently, last week, Daredevil came out, Born Again, and I just saw the first episode last night. Damn. It's wow.
I think that's my favorite Marvel TV show that they ever made.
Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to
And
watching.
I even told you, because you didn't see She-Hulk, but he makes an appearance in She-Hulk.
Yeah, now you gotta watch that.
And that one's a lot. Obviously, Daredevil's dark. She-Hulk is light, funny. You get Mark Ruffalo playing the Hulk, guiding his cousin in Hulkness. It's funny as hell.
That's cool.
But yeah, there's an appearance of Daredevil in there, and it hit me halfway through this first episode. I'm like, oh, when are we going to see that? But yeah, it's good so far. Jake, try to watch it in the next week, because I need to talk to someone about this.
I will get on that. All right, very good.
Will do.
So join the tournament challenge, please, the men's and the women's, and we'll have a prize announced maybe by next week. We'll see. But otherwise, we'll see who wins. And also, thank you very much for our awesome, super special guest, voice Dave Marcus, voice of the UCLA women's basketball team. That was super awesome. I hope we have him on again. He's a great guy. And until next time, I guess, let's go Bruins men team men's team in the Big Ten tournament. Let's hope for good things there. And then let's have a good selection Sunday. And then we'll hear from Mike about his experience and all that when we see you next week. So, Mikey, until next time, what do we say?
Go Bruins.
Good evening.
Smoke 'em if you got 'em.
That was the What's Bruin Show.
Try us tomorrow. Same bat time, same bat channel.
It's got to be in or out, Mom. In or out. Well, I need the door closed.
Thank you for your cooperation.
Dude, bro, we play some ball on the West Coast.
The final word is boob.